All right, so far we set our project up so that you can see what we're doing. We're about to produce contents and put them up on the websites. So what do we have to do next? Again, it's just fun to know. So if I have my whole list of domain names that I was buying, right, and that's like this list over here, say, what do we need to do? Got to go to GoDaddy and copy in and bulk purchase all those domains at once. Bam. And in this case, I happen to have those domains. And so it's just going to say that they're in use. Well, if I were doing this project in the first place and some of the domains were in use, I would have found that out in the beginning after the first step, because I would already paste in the domain names as part of that weeding out process for the ones to get rid of and the new ones to add until I had the right number. Having said that, I'd wind up with my 100 or so, and I go ahead and move forward. It'll tell me what's available. I already know that they're all available, so I'd move forward with a purchase and I'd buy them, right? And there you go. Now what do we need to do? We need to put them on a server. So we take a server and we have to take all those domain names, we have to add them in, okay, on the server. So there are 360 domains on this particular server right now. If I was to get another domain, here's how most people do it, folks. This is the way this normally has to work, all right? And this is where people spend a lot of money to get companies to build projects for them, and you'll start to understand the time. So say I wanted to create a new instance for one of these. First, I've got it, and then what do I need to create? I need to create a username for it. Maybe this is for Bob Smith, and I'm just going to go with like BBST 01, you know, and then that's going to be the cPanel name, and then BBST02, okay, and I'm going to do that for 100. Now, in our case, we put that in Excel and drag it down. It'll fill in, it'll just auto number, so it's done already. But then what do I need to do? I need to create a password for it too, and again, we already built our tools to auto-generate passwords, so there's no issue there. I'm just going to do that so you get the idea. So here's a simple password, right? Normally it'd be a little longer. But anyway, how does this work? And then this is going to be for what? Bob at smith.com. And what's the point? The point is this. By the way, the next password, it better be different than the first password, etc. You know. Okay, I just want to make the point about how this normally works. So we have to create this list, right? If you were to hire a company to do this and you're paying them $100 an hour for the work, how long does it take them to create 100 cPanels, right? Well, they would have to go into their WHM, their web host manager, and they would have to create a new account, okay? And they've got their records, so they're going to take the first domain name and paste it in. Then they're going to take, see, this is too predictable, so they don't want that. They're going to use some other naming convention, whatever it is. And then they're going to get the password. Let's hope they don't mess it up, because they're probably going to mess it up if they're copying and pasting. It's just they have to do this, right? This is how people do this. And then they're going to do that. And they go, okay, I got the info in to create the domain. I want it on a package of some kind, whatever the package is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and create, and it'll just take a few seconds, then it'll make that website, okay? So then they get to go to the next. So they get to come back to create a new account, and now they're going to do the next one. There is no bulk create. So we created our own. We thought it's too bad there's no bulk create. We think it's important to have one. And so in our case, instead of going through that, and by the way, that's just for creating a cPanel. I'm sure you get the idea that this by itself does not mean that there's a website there. We put the domain names there, but they still only have like 1 megabyte of information on there. That's just all the default stuff, because no one uploaded anything yet. See this? Hey, welcome to your brand new account that's empty. What would you like to do with it now? Well, you know, if we were to look at the files, there's no files yet. There's just this. It's just a system thing. It's empty. If we were to look at email accounts, they're empty. We'd have to create the email account that we want. So we'd create something like support at, and create a password for it, which may or may not be the same as for the cPanel, and create. And then we're probably going to forward that, because the client, if we're doing 100 domains for them, we want the system-based emails one for every domain because it's more professional. But we want those emails to forward to, okay, add a forwarder, to one or more people. So it would be whatever we created for the guy, inquiries at that, forward to email. And that would be the first email we put in and hit add forwarder. Then we come back and do it again for the next email, hit add forwarder. Come back and do it for the next email, hit add forwarder, right? And that would be like an email for us as admin to see how things are going, make sure everything's going good. Email for the funder, if that makes sense. Usually don't go that far because you can get personal information in this stuff. And then especially email for the client because it's the client who needs the emails, right? So usually we even get rid of ourselves pretty quick after just making sure everything's running because it's not our business, okay? And we're not interested in it. We just do it in the beginning to make sure everything runs right. But there's nothing here. There's no admin databases or anything. If I were to go there, it's just basically empty. It's got just the system stuff. No new admin panel. So when creating websites, it takes time. We have to upload files. We have to create databases. We have to upload the contents. We have to attach that with a connection.php or a db.php or database.php. Some kind of a file that says connect the files to the database, right? All that is done manually. Everyone does it manually unless they have like an auto installer, so you can do it one at a time manually. You install each website manually, right? So this is a time-consuming, long and hard process for most people. And then you have to turn around, you have to set up encryption, all that kind of thing. So what did we do with this? We built a system that allows us to automatically set up the cPanels. Okay, so we take our data in Excel, wouldn't be a notepad like this anyway, it'd be in Excel. And then we'd paste it here and hit process, and we could generate usernames, hit process, and boom, it's gonna do two things. It's gonna up and create all those cPanels for us, and at the same time that it's doing it, it's going to populate, it's gonna store that information, in the system in such a way that the system's connected to those domains automatically for anything we go to do after that. Because guess what we do after installing the cPanels, which by the way, let's compare. Normal company takes 2 minutes per cPanel. 100 cPanels takes 200 minutes. That's half of a workday. So if you were paying a company $100 an hour house charge, they're gonna charge you like $400 just to install those. Do you know how long it takes us to install these things? Right? Creating them and installing them. So creating them in the first place, buying them and prepping them on the servers took like 10 to 15 minutes at the most. And then turning around and creating the cPanels for all of these would be what? It would be about 42 seconds the last time we checked for us to just create them all onto the server, which I've never heard of before. I don't know anyone who can do that. And then beyond that, we go ahead and we start our installation, batch installation for installing templates. And we have our variety of templates, so we're already set up to install that variety. We just plug in the domain names, which are already saved in the system. And now the system goes through literally all of that. Takes the zip file, puts it in the public HTML folder, unzips it. It also goes and creates the database name, database user, database pass, and connects them with full privileges. And then it creates the connection file that allows the files to communicate with the database, and it uploads the SQL file that's got all the stuff in it already. So, wow. And then what? We go through and do more. We upload master feed files and global variables and the typography to go through all the templates and make them all unique. All in all, when we timed our last round, from the time we're wondering what domain names we're going to buy to the time that we have 100 websites ready with templates, in other words, they're living websites. The only things that are not correct yet are the images and the content and any other specialized scripting we might want to put in there that was unique, like the guy's live chat feature, you know, something obvious like that. But aside from images and contents, It takes us about 1 hour. I was going to say 45 minutes plus 15. It takes us 1 hour from the time we're wondering what domain names we're going to buy to the time that we actually have 100 websites live just waiting for images and content is 1 hour. So if you would have paid them for that whole thing, you would usually pay for about 5 days at 8 hours a day for one person to get all that done. So you'd pay about $4,000 to get that done. And in our case, it's 1 hour. Okay, so it's not $4,000. It's what we're charging for the power of the templates that we have and the work that's gone into it and the development, but way cheaper. And that's neat because by the time we're done with this entire process, think this way. If you get someone to custom build a website for you, that one website, if they do it right, and they deal with things like GT metric scores and stuff, and HTML validation and scripting and live chat the way you want, and they clean up all the code so that Google can read it right, you're talking $4,000 or $5,000 a website, okay? To make your website truly competitive if you had it custom built, pretty much from scratch. Like guys just start with the basic frameworks and say, what would you like? Okay, I'll start creating it. 4,000 to 5,000 1 week for one website. So you're talking 400 to 500,000 to get that far with 100 websites. Although surely there'd be discounts at this point, you'd find a way to do it cheaper. Probably you could pull it down to 150,000. And by the way, that doesn't include, it does. By the time you get that far, you are including images and contents. But the reality check is ask anyone what it takes to create one website well, properly and well in such a way that's competitive. Okay, you're talking 4 to 5K for a website. And we're nothing like that, and yet we're easily competing with them. We're competing with them better because the very features that we're able to give that are incredibly competitive are never even offered by our competitors, and they cannot do it for the same price we can. We've made everything streamlined. So not only can we create, but we can remote control everything efficiently. If you go back to that guy and say, hey, I want to add this new script to 100 websites. He'll be like, really? So he's got to log into every one of those websites one at a time in the cPanel and upload your script, okay, one at a time. Not us. We've got a file uploader. We can just upload instantly to all 100 at once, just in one single motion. So it takes us 1% of the time to do the work, okay? So that is what makes us so much more competitive than anyone else, all right? I don't know anyone, and I've worked with some bigger players. Downtown Bellevue, you know what they say, Seattle's got money, but they keep it in Bellevue. And it's the guys in Bellevue. I mean, this is like where Bill Gates lives. You can almost hold your breath and drive to his house from Bellevue. And these guys are all die-hard in-the-wool programmer types. And I have met and chat with many of them. And they do not have any kind of automation concepts like we have. Hardly at all. The only time you see it is billion-dollar companies. The biggest ones can mass produce any combination of anything they want. Then there's us and everyone else who does, great work on a case-by-case basis, one website at a time. They'll do all your custom stuff the way you want. Cool, but it doesn't mean that you're going to make any real money because you're still going to have to spend so much to get it going. You can if you really have a great process figured out with them and you've got that kind of a budget. But very often I've seen packages, take 20 to 25,000 for a single website to be made great and to start earning money. But you need 20 to 25,000 for one website to get it rolling to a point where it could compete at that level of the game. And still profits cannot be guaranteed because no one can do that. So what did we do? We said, if you write content incredibly well, and then you can monitor how people react to the content easily, and then you can set standards for the websites to know what their jobs are, page by page by page, and have the websites make logical decisions to improve how people interact on a page-by-page basis, then you will outcompete the other sites because you're doing what the other competitors cannot do. You know if the people are happy when they land on the web pages and go through them. They don't. They know somebody landed on the web page, and then if that was it, if they didn't visit any other web page, they have no data on that. They don't know if the guy was on the page 2 seconds, 2 minutes, or 20 minutes. They don't know if the guy scrolled down. They don't know if the guy was slightly interested. They don't even know if it was a human guy or a bot. They have no idea. So if they got 100 hits on the website, they cannot tell you, and they only got 5 hits on the video on that site, they don't know why. Is it that their video is not performing well, or is it that most of the hits were bots? They don't know what to fix, okay? That is what a $20,000 to $25,000 website will get you. It will get you a beautiful, great-looking website that says everything you want to say, but usually tracking is horrible, okay? We build our own internal tracking methods, and we track scrolls, and we track mouse motions, we track clicks, and we track engagement scores, and we reverse engineer where the people are so that we know if they're in the area or not, and we can dig in deeper and react to them with rules. And we have all this built into our system already, so you don't have to custom pay to have it custom developed. Then we do these websites in stacks because it's really where the money's at. Not just having one website, but having multiple websites multiplies your ROI. And that's a big deal. You have one website that you bought and you get 1 visitor the first month and 3 visitors the next month. Maybe you don't even get a sale. Maybe you do. But if you have 100 websites built and only 40 of them get a visitor the first month, that's 40 visitors the first month, and you're already watching their interactions on the site, you might get like 4 or 8 sales right then and there. And it just depends. And even if you didn't, we're not blind. It's not like, I wonder why they didn't buy. We get to go look and see why they didn't buy and make adjustments to encourage them to buy. Fill in the blanks. And not just that, but our websites do that automatically without us. In other words, you can set and forget the websites and walk away because the websites will watch the humans who interact with the pages and make decisions to improve themselves without you. So your websites improve their ROI, your websites improve their rank and their visibility, and therefore your ROI from the secondary layers of traffic that gets to come because you're ranking higher because Google likes what's happening on your sites. Completely without you. This is nuts. It's very, very powerful. Okay? And I don't know anyone who's focused on this, and this is what's taken us 6 months of insane development. From the time we wanted to know the difference between humans and bots who hit our site, we wanted to prove it, all the way through GPT coming into existence and taking over writing from copywriters, all the way through PHP 8 upgrade. I mean, we did massive upgrades. Multi-PHP. I don't know if you understand this or not, but about once every 3 years, your websites just start crashing. The code sticks through them like, you know, if you broke your arm and the bone was sticking through. That happened to us. We were on 7.3 about a month ago. It took us about 3 weeks to convert it to 8.0. You might think, why not 8.1? The answer is never go with the latest one. The latest one's glitchy. The latest one's got bugs. You never know how the latest one's doing. But this one, this will be good for the next 3 years before we have to think about this again. Okay? That's what's important. The 8.0 version will be supported for at least another 3 years. So we are totally we don't have to worry about it anymore. But we had to do it. We had to actually figure out if we were doing it on every single one of the websites. We had to go through every website and decide which ones we were going to set for 8.0 and which ones we really didn't care about. Out of 1,182 instances here, we had to figure all that out. So we had to go through hand by hand and decide which ones we did not need to upgrade and which ones we did need to upgrade all the way down the ladder. Okay? That's crazy, but we did it. I mean, it was exhausting. It was a crazy amount of work, but we did do it. All right, guys, just letting you know, we don't kid around. We don't lie on a beach in the Bahamas. We're obsessed with what we do. We're creating better websites than probably anyone in the US. I'm not saying it out of pride. I'm saying it because we've exhausted ourselves working like mad to deal with everything that goes into what makes websites work, what makes them rank, what makes them powerful. And we have focused extremely hard on making all this stuff happen. Okay, I think you're finding this interesting. I got more to say, but now you're starting to see, I mean, the level of streamlining that we do. With another company, it takes a week to install 100 websites. They got one guy on the job. And you'd be paying $100 an hour, say, for that week, $4,000 to $5,000 to get the websites going, just base. No great strategy, just get them all up, get them live with some images and contents, right? But we didn't even talk about paying for the contents. $4,000 to $5,000 is the functional work of getting the websites up and getting the images into them. You still had to pay to generate images, and you had to pay to generate content. And if you have any other stuff like live chat feature, whatever, that didn't, I don't know, come with the website, then you would pay for that. In our case, we've streamlined all of it. We don't believe in charging for the same things over and over and over again if we can put them all together, make them all available to all our buyers as tools along the way. So yeah, it's really incredible. So whether you get websites yourself or you have us do projects for you, they include all the power we offer and everything scaled to the top. And whenever we're making improvements to one guy's website, it cascades through all of yours as well to the degree we can, because as long as it's within that project scope, we're covering everyone at once. Okay? It's really great. It means that you all get a co-op benefit from using our websites, because we're thinking through all the stuff that would be too hard to explain on a person-by-person basis, and just improving the back end of your websites with the power anyway, whenever it makes sense for us to do that. All right. Hope you found this interesting. I'm going to continue with the next topic. It's going to be what happens after we install the websites and we start generating the contents for them, because so far I've covered that. We create really structured data so we can write. We don't write by the page, we write by the topic. Each topic is like its own job. We do this topic perfectly, then that one perfectly, then that one perfectly, and we get a perfect page, right? And so on. So yeah, what comes after that, and what do we do how do we get you going? What are the levels of that? Keep following, because I'm walking through all this stuff so that you know where you want to step in and why you want to step in there. Okay,